Okay, so we're checking ring gap, and these are the new rings, and you can see that gap is really tight. I'll show you the part you're going to measure doing this. That little gap in between the bigger gap is what you're measuring. So that little gap is called ring end gap. So to measure ring end gap, we're going to use thousandths of an inch. So that's the top numbers. I just find it easier. So our ring gap now, our ring gap is that. So 0.008 is this ring gap. What KTM calls for 0.016 and Vertex 0.017. So these are too tight, and I'm gonna have to file them down. You're definitely gonna want to file them. When your rings heat up, they'll expand, and if that gap closes off, you'll wreck your cylinder. Heat expands metal, so that those rings will expand and just start grinding on your cylinder walls. Completely wreck everything. So a little more gap is better than not enough gap. A little more gap, you'll lose a little bit of power. Nothing you'll probably notice, but if they do heat up, you won't seize your cylinder. So that's a good thing. Okay, so it's a good thing we checked that. Here are the old measurements. Old ring was 0.18. This one was super tight for some reason. KTM is 0.40 millimeters, so 0.16. It's close, a little tight. Tighter than I'd like. We're gonna go with 0.17. So I'm going to file these down until we get 0.17. Also, good thing to know, if you can see that, so that little end faces up on your piston rings, facing up like that, both rings. So I checked both these rings and they're both the same. 0.008, way too small, which is crazy. Wonder how many people measure that. Anyways, I'll set up a file and we'll get filing. Just take your file and your ring and lightly and check it. You got your piston here. What I did was took 20 millimeters, that's what they recommend. You go down from the top, and I just scribed a line. Scribe a line. This was the old piston vapor blasted by Andy Wells. So that's your reference mark, and then push it down to that mark. And check it with your gauges. We're there now. 0.0117. 0.017. So we had to file some rings down. Filed this one over a bit. So the new piston ring actually comes in, I can shove a 0.11, I think. So we're talking thousandths of an inch, not millimeters. So I can put a 0.010, so I can put a 0.010 thousandths of an inch shim in there. I can also get a 0.011, but it's really tight. So we do have to, I researched more and there's no way around it. We got to file them. Everyone on there says 0.017. We got one ring at 0.017. So I may as well put this at 0.017. But I'm going to check it until I get to 0.016, and then I'll know to slow down on the filing, because a few strokes and you'll go past, so you don't want that. So I'll set up this camera and kind of show you how to file them. Real careful. Make sure the rust is already scraped out of your file if it's rusty. So you can see that gap there. I don't know if you can. That's sitting at 0.010 thousandths of an inch, and we got to take it to 0.017. So we got to take 7 thousandths off it. Going to be using this little file. So when you're filing rings, just file the one side. Don't go filing both. Make sure there's no burrs on there. Make sure it's straight as you can get it too, so no crooked angles or anything. So I hold it down here, end is up top. Just keep checking on it. Now throw it in. You don't have to do too much. I like to set it at the back of the piston, the rings, take your measuring. This is the old piston. I just marked the rings on there. Mark the groove, 20 millimeters. And I can tell we haven't moved much. We're going to check it. Yeah, keep going. I don't really like this part about it. You go past, you're hooped. Okay. Keep checking it regularly. So how I do it is I'll make sure this end is up, and I'll just do the one side. It's better to check it more than not enough. It's kind of a hassle, but I need to do it. A little more. Take a little more off here. No burrs. It's too easy to take a lot off here, so go careful. Keep going. Just a few scrapes here and there will get you by. Okay, so we're 0.015 fits. This is where it gets sketchy. Okay. 1.6. Let's go right with the 1.7. Point 0.017 is too tight, so I bet we're at 0.016. Seems tight. Okay, we're sitting at 0.15. That's what one of the old rings come out at. Okay, so right now we're sitting at 0.015. I'm going to take this one and put it to 0.016. So we just got to take a little bit more off it. So now is the time to be super careful. Remember, file of the one side of the ring only. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm filing. That's how she's going in, whatever that measurement is. Maybe. Still 0.15 tight. Point still tight a bit. Always try your next size up, just in case. 0.016. So that fits in there. It's real tight. So that's all we're going. Whatever. One of the old rings come out of there like that. Just a little more here. Okay, so that fits in there nice. Now we're at 0.16. Okay, we're good there. So now we're going to put the rings on the piston and install the piston on the crank.